I've been stripping down this 2014 Mustang GT and moving everything over into this 2009 V6 Mustang. And I'm just about ready to put the 5 liter into the engine compartment. But what I'm going to talk about this update is the interior. I got the entire interior from the 14 GT swapped over into this 2009. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. It looks really good. And it actually went pretty smooth. But what I'll do now is I'll go over the steps that I took to get it installed. I've got the interior stripped out of both the 2014 and 2009 Mustangs. And as you can see, I'm running out of places to put everything. Got a lot of stuff stacked up on top of the 14. Next step is to take the wiring harness out of this car, and I've got everything disconnected and labeled in here, and move that wiring harness into the 2009. It was a big job getting the wiring harness to this point. I bought a bunch of these little tags to label things. You can see some more up there, and then I ran out of those. I think I had about 100 of these. And then I bought some just white labels. I think I had another 50 of those. And then I even ran out of those, and I used some tape. So I think there's over 150 electrical connections that I disconnected and labeled here. And every connection's a little bit different from one another. All basically the same with tabs someplace, but some have got little locking mechanisms on them. So yeah, trying to figure out how to take everything apart and label it. It's obvious that Ford made things so they're easy to put together, but somewhat more difficult to pull apart. In this car, since the last update, I switched over the parking brake handle, the bracket, and the module under the console, brake pedal and gas pedal, along with the rear view mirror, and it's all ready for the wiring harness now. I did find a little trick that I want to share with you for getting the parking brake out of here. As you can see, I thought I just had to switch handles, but there's enough difference between the two that I had to change the whole thing out. So I had to disconnect the cable from the two back wheels, and it goes through a little bracket and goes through a hole. And this is a little claws on here that once you push it through the hole, they grab and you can't pull it back. And I've had a lot of trouble getting these things out in the past. I use a plier and try to push down one tab and then get it worked through, and then work your way around and get them all through that way. So I found a little trick. I just put a hose clamp on it, tighten up the hose clamp. It tightens up all of these tabs at the same time. Allows me to pull it back, get it through the hole enough that they won't spring back, and then undo the hose clamp, and then you can pull it out. So that made that a lot easier. Another job that I thought would be easy, that wasn't, was swapping the rear view mirrors over. Different wiring connections on them, and I think different function with both mirrors. I'm used to the old cars where there's a set screw on them, and you undo the set screw and it just slides right off. These don't work that way. They've got a little spring-loaded mechanism. You can see it on this mirror here. It's got this little spring-loaded thing, and that grabs a hold of this metal wedge that's glued on the windshield, and that's what locks it in place. This was off the 2014. I tried removing it without special tools first and had no luck. So I bought this tool off Amazon, and as you can see, I modified it considerably. I tried taking the mirror off the 14 car first, and when it wasn't modified, when it was just straight across up top, all I wound up doing was knocking the little metal bracket off the windshield, and everything came off. And I didn't want to do that in this car, so I reshaped the tip on this tool, and I was able to slide it underneath here and compress those two little tabs And the way that works is it actually puts pressure on the windshield and that pushes on the spring. Nerve-wracking doing that because you have to push pretty hard and it feels like you're going to break the windshield. But anyway, luckily I was able to get that out without breaking anything. Also, since the last update, I've got the wiring under the hood installed on this 2009. That all came out of the 2014. And that's a separate harness. And you can see all the connections there. They come through the firewall. Slightly different hole. The size of the hole going through the firewall is different on the 2009 and the 2014. So I had to build a little plate and I just screwed it in there and then used some RTV silicone sealant to seal it up so air doesn't get through there, and then that rubber grommet to fit through the hole in that plate that I put there. Had to do the same on both sides to get that harness in here. Oh, another thing I should mention is the antenna. On the 2014, the antenna was in the back fender here. You can see the hole where the antenna was. And it was a nice little black antenna, which looked pretty good back there. And that's different from what the 2009 had. The 2009 had the antenna on the front fender, and it's this great big long wire fit into there, which looked really bad. So what I'm going to do is I've already pulled the antenna off of the 09 here. I'm going to make, or see if I can buy a little plate to fill in this hole. The proper thing to do would be to cut that out and weld it and body work it and repaint the fender. I might do that at some point, but for now I'm just going to put a plate over there, cover that up, and then move that short antenna to the rear fender. And that will make it easier too with the wiring, because the 2014 harness has everything coming back there. And I think I could have made that long antenna work up front, but the 2014 was different too. It's got a built-in amplifier here, and I don't know if the radio would have worked without this style antenna. So I think this is the better solution, is just to mount this antenna in the back quarter and do a delete plate up front. Under the hood, you can see the harness here. It runs in behind the inner fenders. As you can see, I put the GT wheels up front here and around and then back in on the other side. I've already got the fuse box in here, and once I get the engine in, there's going to be a lot more connections to make there. Since the last update too, I put this hose in here, and it goes through the firewall. I had to drill a hole for it. And it goes from the intake tube on the 5-liter engine and just kind of terminates at the firewall through that hole. That's the way it was hooked up in the 2014. And I think all it does, and I'm pretty sure I've read about this, is it brings some of the induction sound from the engine into the interior, so it sounds meaner inside the car. So I really didn't need to do that, but anyway, it wasn't too hard to do, so I thought I'd hook that back up. I guess it's the same idea as what we used to do with old carbureted cars, is flip the air breather lid upside down and you'd get that induction noise. I guess this is the modern version of that. Also on the firewall, you can see in the middle, there's a hole there. I had to change the shape of it slightly to accommodate the 2014 HVAC box. I test fit it and everything seems to work. After I get the wiring harness inside and the carpet in, that's when that HVAC box goes in, and then I'll be able to put it in and get the AC lines in. And after that's done, it should be ready for the engine up front. I got the wiring harness out of the 2014 Mustang and put into the 2009, and it actually went easier than I thought it would. Pretty much all the holes lined up. Down that driver's side kicks panel there, I had to drill a couple of holes because the connectors were different there. As you can see, the wire is still sagging a little bit in the middle of the dash. I think that might sit on top of the HVAC box, so I'm just going to wait with it. Computer's in, all the wires are hooked up there. The only part that was required a little bit of fabrication was in the trunk. The trunk's lids on the two Mustangs are completely different, and had to change out the latch to get the connector to work. The GPS antenna was different. Yeah, basically all it was different, so I had to do some splicing and the third brake light was different, so I just spliced that in. But it went together not too bad too. So next step is carpet and headliner. Well, so far the interior bits have gone in very smoothly. As I mentioned before, I can tell that these vehicles are made to be put together quickly in the factory, and it's a lot easier to put them together than take them apart. As you can see, I got the carpet, the HVAC unit, headliner, rear seat, you can't see it but the parcel shelf is in, and these rear panels. All this came out of the 2014 Mustang, with the exception of those side panels in the back and the sail panels. The 2014 had some cracks in the plastic, and plastic was better on the 2009. There's only minor differences between it, so I think it will still work out fine. Really, no tricks to putting this stuff in. It's just plug and play. So I'm waiting for someone for the dash to help me with the dash, and then I'll provide another update. Well, the dash is in, and that went a lot easier than I thought it would. Had my brother come over and give me a hand, and it was literally just minutes to lift it in place and bolt it in there. I was worried there was going to be some major differences between the 2009 and the 2014 Mustangs, which would prevent me from bolting this dash in, but there isn't. It went in easy, and since I had swapped over the wiring harness, it was an easy job too to reconnect all the electrical connections. Very rewarding to be finally putting this back together and having it look more like a car again. As you can see, I've got the console and the seats in, and that all went pretty smooth. All the holes lined up, all the wire connections were where they were supposed to be. Easy to hook up, so yeah, no problems there at all. It actually took me longer to clean the console than to install it. The previous owner had spilled a lot of coffee inside there, and it was a real mess, so good time to clean it when it was all out. But anyway, it's looking good now. I've just got the sill plate resting in place right now. It goes in with clips and two-sided tape, and I didn't want to tape it in quite yet until I get this door panel in. I suspect I'm going to have to pull off the trim one more time and maybe even take the doors off to get the door panels put in place. Change the wiring harnesses and everything for that. So that will be another episode. But the interior is pretty much done, so I'm feeling good about that. Also, under the hood, I hooked up the AC and heater lines. So I think that's about all I need to do before the 5-liter goes in there. But before I do that, I've got a few other things to do. First, rear axle needs to be swapped out along with the gas tank. Maybe the evap system has to be changed, exhaust system. So that will probably be the next thing I work on is getting everything out of the back of the car and out from underneath, and swapped from the 14 into this 2009. That's it for this update. Thanks for watching.